Hey Morrison fans out there, Troy to the Max Extreme here.
And Ghost Hunter Dave here.
Together, we form IMPERIUS REX.
God, we've done it again. We formed it, now there's no stopping us.
Now we reformed it, and now we're ready to go. We're on full stroke, we're ready to go.
That's right.
I don't know what full stroke means. I think I heard a car guy say it once, and now I'm all into cars.
Get out of here gardening. I'm on to cars now.
Fuck out of here.
Man's man. Troy, how's it been?
It's been better, but today I'm on the ups.
All right.
Yeah.
Having a nice, what is that, Sambuca?
This is a homemade kombucha.
Kombucha.
Mixed with a non-alcoholic ginger beer to give it some extra effervescence.
Nice.
Thank you.
Really let it fermentate? All right.
You nailed it.
Thank you.
You sound like a car guy.
Troy, the new year is upon us, and we thought, what better way to right the wrong that was last year than to dive into some Morrison stuff just bright and early.
Right.
Set our right foot forward, our best foot forward.
And the right one.
I mean, your feet are fucked, as we know.
Yeah, the right one's not the way to go.
No, so the left foot. Maybe that's the trick.
And then go backwards. Not into 2020.
No.
But you go backwards into 2021. Morrison style. Start in December, go to January.
Okay. I didn't care for Tenet. Is that going to come up in this at all?
I haven't seen it, but maybe I will in the past.
Okay.
Here's hoping.
All right. We're at just the right level of crazy to tackle Grant Morrison, Chris Burnham, Nathan Fairbairn, Nameless. What is human? An astronomer kills his family, then himself, leaving a cryptic warning. A veiled lady hunts her victims through human nightmares. An occult hustler known only as Nameless is recruited by a consortium of billionaire futurists for a desperate mission. And the malevolent asteroid Xibalba spins closer on a collision course with Earth. Nothing is what it seems. Nothing is real. All is well. What is human? What is human? Nameless.
Nameless. My gosh, Dave. Dave, this book seems like it's right up your wheelhouse.
It absolutely is. It's right on up there.
It's shoved so far up there.
It's,
that wheelhouse is a dark, dark place.
I can taste it.
I was stoked that we're doing more Morrison stuff.
But
I can wait for that later.
All right.
Something weird, you know? This is definitely weirder than our last Morrison little jaunt that we did, We Three.
That's right.
And I was ready for it. And then I wasn't ready for it, I don't think. That was my progression.
But then as it went on, you were ready again, but then by the end, you were in a coma.
The ending is correct. I was about in a coma. This is full on Morrison. I feel like he's got 3 modes, right?
Yeah.
He's got like your kind of entry level stuff. Like you've got like your
We Three.
We Threes, maybe even new X-Men.
Yeah.
Kind of entry level stuff.
Even All-Star Superman.
All-Star Superman.
Yep.
His Batman run.
Oh, yeah.
That ties back.
That gets a little weird, but I'm going to give it to you.
It'll bleed into his second version of stuff, which is like more of like the
Doom
full
Patrol.
on. Yes.
Invisibles?
I would almost say Invisibles almost trickles into his third one, which is full on existential thought, real thought pieces, you know? That's his
Flex.
3 little modes.
Some flex in there?
Yeah.
Would you put Animal Man in the third or the middle?
Probably the middle.
Okay.
I mean, it's meta, but it's not like so meta that it's like way
too
out
meta.
in column 3 where I'm putting that.
Right.
You know.
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about Nameless, which is in my column 3.
All right. Yes. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you later at the end of the show, but since we're traveling back through time, we might as well do it now. Where you would put this on the more Grant Morrison scale of weirdness, which is something that we created way back in our very first IMPERIUS REX trilogy. I made a little graph and everything.
Yes.
So this is far far left or right, depending on your positioning
That's right.
on the axis.
That's right.
It's all the way.
That's right.
Tips the scales.
That's correct, I
Got
would
it.
say.
Okay. I'll agree with that.
So it's a Lovecraftian-esque tale.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Lovecraftian because these are actually pulling from other myths and cultures and stuff that's not Lovecraft but is similar to it.
That's right. It's got the flavor of Lovecraft,
Yes.
but told through the lens of a variety of different references.
Quite a variety.
The Kabbalah, the Tarot, Mayans,
Mm-hmm.
oh my lord, 15th century poets and philosophers.
Yes.
Everything.
Everything is thrown to the mix.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the only thing that's oddly missing would be Lovecraft in this.
Very true, yes. I give him credit for being able to, like, tighten it into 6 issues, though. Because
Sure.
he does something similar with Invisibles, which, like, that's 60-something issues, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically is like, this is everything I'm into right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas this, it's like, I think it's everything he was into right now, but he was able to just, like, distill it into this fairly tight cosmic horror story.
Mm-hmm. It does start at a different place than where it canonically starts, I guess.
Yep.
Which I was ready for.
Uh-huh.
I've been duped before.
Yes.
So I was ready for it to jump around a little bit.
You were on the lookout. All of their
You weren't
tricks.
going to trick me this time, Morrison,
Great.
but you ended up kind of doing it anyways.
Yep.
Because, goddamn. So, like, what was throwing me off the most was all of these references packed in that I have no knowledge of.
Right.
That I would only get from some weird appendix in the back.
As you're reading, you're like, is this something? Does this mean anything?
Because it seems like gobbledygook to me right now.
Uh-huh.
I feel like you're maybe holding your tongue on something you wish to say.
Nope.
To my... Okay.
No, well, I'll say, like, it starts off batshit crazy.
Yes.
But in a way where, like, you're caught up in it and you just go. You're like, I don't get everything, but, like, this is the type of thing it is. Let's see.
Yeah,
Let's see where we're going.
End, I'll see where he... Yeah.
Yep. And I feel like the first maybe 3 issues, you're right along with it. You're like, okay, this is weird, but I think I'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then when it gets there, it's such a weird turn that, like, you're expecting maybe the one story to see the end, and then there's a twist, and you're like, oh, okay, it's actually this other story. There's a story behind the story. And that, I think, is where a lot of people, myself included, would probably be lost. And I'll admit, I looked up and I was like, so wait, what is this? So what happened? And I kind of read up on it. I'm like, okay, all right, that checks out. Maybe I would have got that on a second read, but I'm glad I was able to kind of see it spelled out for me. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense then. And this is a book, too, where Grant has a 5-page afterword where they go through every reference that's made in this.
Yeah.
And you just like
page by page.
Yeah. You're like, oh man.
Yeah.
The knowledge that Grant has is it's mind-boggling.
Bewildering.
It's too much.
Yeah.
No one should have this knowledge. And to work it into like a storyline, you're like, wow. But did it need all of that?
I don't think so, because the level of detail is great, right? Like, the fact that Morrison can pull from all of these sources and really distill it. I'm not going to say shoehorn, because it is distilled into one thing. But there are other aspects of the story that I do not think is necessary, such as, like, the whole group of people with Nameless that go into space, right?
Yeah.
They all have these specific properties. At the end, mean nothing.
No.
They don't come into play at all.
Right. Okay, so maybe we should back up a little bit.
Sure.
Back in time. Nameless is a occultist. He's essentially John Constantine.
Yes.
Like, this started out like, oh, this could be a Constantine story. By the end, not so much. But he is hired to steal a dream key, and he's being pursued through nightmares by the Veiled Lady. And then right when he's about to get it, as you like to say, dead to rights.
I love saying that.
No, I've noticed. He's whisked away and recruited to join a group of futurists who are going to blast off to the moon and eradicate an asteroid which they call Xibalba, off of the Mayan underworld, that's hurtling towards Earth, and it's going to obliterate the planet in 30 days. So it starts off really bizarre, and then it kind of goes into like, oh, it's Armageddon.
Yeah. Yeah, yes.
And this is kind of you get a lot of mixes of different genre tropes in this. And they're all things I love. Like, I love a space horror.
God, do you?
I do. You ever seen Event Horizon?
No.
Big
actually.
shades of Event Horizon in this.
Okay.
Yep. And it's a really well done, because like that cosmic horror is so limitless. It's not just, like a murderer or a slasher or something. It's just, it could be anything.
Like
unfathomable. It could be a werewolf, for all we know. I don't know where he'd get the breathing apparatus to float around in space.
Space werewolves.
Oh my god. On the moon.
Can you even
full
imagine?
moon 24/7.
Oh!
Hold on, we have to go pitch this.
This has been copyrighted.
Yep.
Down in the comments we'll put it, or whatever.
Oh, Space Wolf. IMPERIUS REX 2021. But yeah, limitless potential, which is perfect for Grant. And before we get too far, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention right off the bat, Chris Burnham just kills it.
Yeah.
The two Morrison books that we're coming out of the gates on, this and We Three, my God, does Grant get teamed up with some just stellar illustrators.
Yeah.
And Burnham is a very similar artist to Quietly.
On the surface, I think.
Okay.
I think if you're looking at them, like really at a cursory glance, you're like, oh, they're really similar. But I think what Quietly has is, in its perfect simplicity, Burnham has in this like almost like hidden detail.
He packs it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you look at it, it's like, oh, it's kind of cartoony, but then you like search around more and you're like, he packed a lot in every panel.
Yes, the scope of this thing, like he does the small horrific details so well, and then he does the giant grandiose horrific details very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was blown away by this, and I've seen his work on other things, but this one really like stuck with me.
Yeah.
And some of the horrific imagery they come up with on this book, like, burned into my mind on this read. Like, that is unique and terrifying.
Yeah. But not to shortchange the colors on this, Nathan Fairbairn. Fairbairn. Anyway, he knows who he is.
Yeah.
The colors in this also really nail it as well. They really drive it home.
Oh, those nightmarish blues and reds.
Yes.
Never would I think those two colors would be so surreal and off-putting, but they're perfect in this.
Yeah.
In that weird, like, dream machine thing
that
Nameless has, like, in that bedroom that constantly comes back. Like, every time he goes into this nightmare realm, that's kind of the color palette. And even the panels are in, like, weird cutout shapes of that.
Yes.
I'm like, man, the panels in this, too.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, like, curves as opposed to the normal, like, gridded out or boxes.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just the layout and the design of this is so good.
Yeah, and what's cool about the panel layout is, like, at first you kind of find, oh, this is an interesting thing to do it. And then you don't realize, like, he's doing it throughout the whole book.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you see where the shapes are coming from. And even me, a layman, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's drawing back all the way to the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's why it all looks like that. I mean, that's brilliant stuff.
So what makes this asteroid notable is that they've figured out that it's come from the 5th planet in the solar system.
Between Mars and Jupiter, correct?
I believe so, yes. And it was inhabited by a race of Titans, they call them. They don't get into a whole lot of detail on this, but this is like a long, long time ago. These Titans opened a doorway to a negative universe. And this, I think they called it like a thought form, malignant thought form, slithered its way in there. And it was so powerful and evil that they tried to lock it away on their planet, and by the end they were like, it's too much, we need to just commit planetary suicide and blow this thing out of the sky.
Yeah.
It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah, right.
Well, somehow it survived in this chunk of asteroid that it was imprisoned in, and since then, they kind of come to the conclusion that this creature is essentially what we as humans deem as God. Which I thought was an amazing take on God and spirituality.
Yeah, I actually thought it was fairly similar to what like the Authority considered God, which is like a big worm.
Yeah.
Like what was in the Authority
Uh-huh.
way back when. But I that was the only parallel I'm drawing to that. So that's the end of sentence.
That's it. So when they're describing this creature, I'm gonna paraphrase this. So sit down. This is a long one, but I think it's good. He says, "So as to the nature of this cruel abomination chained eternally to a rock in the heavens, consider the possibility that we've always had a disembodied alien life form living among us, invisible, yet able to occupy minds and alter them. This mind boasts of its own omnipotence. Through prophets, it informs us that we are no more than submissive instruments of its will, then deliberately wills us to defy its rules. All the while it vows to punish every preordained breach of those rules, however brief or minor, with eternal agonizing torture in a cosmic concentration camp. If the Titans trapped a sadistic psychopathic monster in this universe, how would it appear to us? What name might we give such an omnipresent horror?" You turn the page and Nameless is like, "God." And I was like, yes, that's what I was thinking. I'm on track here. And then I'm very much off track.
Yes.
If we're going to try to make sense of this, once like the meat of the story is this mission to the asteroid. You're like, okay, I'm on board for a cosmic space horror adventure.
Yes.
And then somewhere up there, we start getting these little flashbacks to this previous scenario that Nameless found himself in, which was he was recruited to investigate a haunted house called Razor House, they refer to it as, where a bunch of different people that look suspiciously like his crew were all recruited to kind of like perform this seance in this creepy old manor where someone just murdered people.
Yes.
And something goes wrong there, and we learn that he was the only survivor, and he's kind of gone crazy since then.
Yeah.
So you just get snippets of this, and then eventually you start spending more time in these flashbacks than you do in the space mission.
Yeah.
So during this seance, they're reaching out to the asteroid Xibalba years prior. It's kind of an undisclosed amount of time. You're not quite sure how closely they're related to each other. But they realize this meteor is approaching Earth. They think it has like the same background as we think on the space mission. It's this remnant of a planet.
Yeah.
And during that seance, Nameless is possessed by that entity, and it causes him to go nuts and murder everyone there.
Yeah, the whole room.
The whole room.
Just brutally murders everyone.
Oh my god, the founder, he walks in and then gets a claw hammer to the face.
Yes.
That like full page spread of him just scraping his face off with the hammer. Amazing. Amazing work. So Nameless runs off after the founder's daughter walks in on him, and he cuts loose. And then we kind of get glimpses of him in a hospital. He's trying to like figure out what happened. They're trying to cure him. He goes crazy there too. And then the world around them is also in chaos at this time. People are getting just railed in the streets and murdered. It's madness.
It almost reminds me of like a crossed scenario.
It's very much a crossed scenario. Yes. So all this stuff is happening and they're just kind of like dropping them in and you're not sure like when is all this actually taking place? And I think the big twist of this, if I have figured it out or read a synopsis correctly, is that after Nameless left Razor House, he is on the run, and everything else is in his mind. The space trip, all of that is purely like a subconscious thing. And the daughter of Paul Darius, the founder, is acting as the Veil Lady who is after him. And she has realized that he's possessed by this evil being and has to kill him. And that's essentially it. Like, it ends with her shooting him in this, like, dream world that she is inhabiting and he's trying to escape from. And everything else in space is kind of mirroring things that happened back on Earth during that seance that went wrong. So the asteroid is still approaching. I think all the weird evil god stuff is still canon, still valid. But it's just, he's kind of built it up more. I guess he's watched a lot of Bruce Willis movies and wanted more of a grandiose send-off.
Sure. If that's not super clear.
No, it's not.
Because I couldn't tell actually what and when what was happening where. when I was nearing the end. But then it's kind of misleading, and maybe that was to Morrison's benefit. Like the cover of this book has those sweet astronaut suits with like the glyphs all over them.
Yeah, he puts these markings for protection on them.
And it's like a great image.
Oh, the aesthetic of this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
All of his occult symbolism that he just decorates their astronaut suits.
And regardless if that is not actually happening, it's funny that like he decks out the whole, most of the crew and that stuff to like no avail.
It doesn't help him at all.
Not a single thing.
Some of the imagery in this, like where he just sees the people like just dangling in their spacesuits, like in the darkness, and then like they kind of come after him, or like walking into that giant like prison in those enormous steps going down into the jail cell of wherever they kept this cosmic entity. Yeah. Definitely like Lovecraft vibes there.
Yes.
It's interesting that the creature is invisible, like it has no actual physical presence, yet they've built this giant physical prison for it, and it's kept behind like the 9 swords or whatever, which they open. Another just kind of weird thing, a piece of the asteroid broke off and caused the extinction of the dinosaurs, and then Paul Darius's group found it. They call it like the 6-score stone or the 3-score stone or something, and that's the key to open up the prison cell on Xibalba.
Yeah.
There's so much.
There's
so much to unpack.
Just the
and it's really up to the reader, like how deep they want to dig into this.
Yeah, this book might have not been given to me to read at a right time, because this is one where you kind of have to do homework on to really get the full scope of stuff. And I was not prepared for this at all. And so...
Did you know what you were getting yourself into here?
Apparently I didn't. I didn't as much as I thought I did. But then, as I was reading it, like, the references that he does put in an afterword... Like, maybe you should read the afterword first.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Because then all the stuff they throw at you, like things that you feel like you should know, aren't just hitting deaf ears. Because that's what's going on when I'm reading it.
You see them and you're like, should I acknowledge this?
They are saying that one word a lot.
Yeah.
Should I even know how to pronounce that?
Exactly.
I don't know. So, like, that's what was going on when I'm reading it through. And, like, I feel like I didn't even really get a grasp of like where the story was going, maybe until like halfway through issue 2.
Yeah.
Issue 1, I can't even really discern what was happening in each one off the top of my head now.
How about those fish on the weather vane?
I don't remember a fish on the weather vane.
Well, it was a reference to something.
You better.
Pisces? I don't know.
But now I finally know where the image in our credits is from all the people.
Goblin the Goop. The cosmic goop.
Yeah. Like,
how about some of those psychedelic, surreal torture scenes in this? Next level. Like, there's one that just caught me off guard where Nameless is basically like an amputated torso. And there's all these, like, thorny branches poking up through him. And, like, out his mouth and sticking out his arms. His, like, face is peeled back. They're coming out his eyes. And his fucking dick is hacked off. And the thorns are going, like, into his balls.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything like that.
I've never been more aroused in my life.
Hope to never see it again.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few times where I've read a book where a sliced off dick happens recently.
Oh.
And
how's your 2021 been reading it?
Well, I've been wearing a cup most of it so far, just for my dick not to be chopped off.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's a precursor of things that I could drop a knife on.
I feel like it's writing on the walls at this point. It's going to be a Final Destination scenario. Just a Rube Goldberg device of things aimed at your dick.
So is this a book you've read before this?
I think I read it at the beginning of 2020. Okay. Might have been what caused this last year of chaos.
God damn.
Actually. It was one of those where, like, maybe I was sick or something, and I just, like, read it on the couch at night when my family was asleep, and I, like, started it and just, like, kept going. I was like, I can't put this down, because I have no idea what I'm reading, but, like, I'm on board. So I read it, like, once in one sitting, and it wasn't quite enough to, like, fully digest it, you know?
Yeah.
And I just read it again for the second time, and kind of knew what I was getting into, and liked it a lot more. And also knew the afterword was coming, so I could kind of reference what some of this stuff meant.
I think that would be to my benefit if I was ever to go back through this again. But in all honesty, this type of thing isn't my bag.
No.
Like, I don't, like, get into Lovecraftian stuff a whole lot anyway, and just having this be a half step away from that, it's like,
Lovecraft
okay.
adjacent.
Yeah, so
peripherally Lovecraftian.
I'm just like, okay, like, maybe. Like, if you were to tell me that's what it is, I'm just like, maybe I'll get to it.
That's why I didn't tell you what it was.
I know. So after I got done with it, I'm like, I don't even know what I really kind of just finished. So it kind of looked...
So I read it again.
So I did not read it again, but I went on to see, like, what it's... like, what they said on Goodreads or whatever. And there's a ton of perfect scores on Goodreads for this book.
Yeah.
Which I was actually surprised at, like, there's some not thrown in, like, I didn't get this tripe at all, like, whatever. There was hardly any of that.
Overall, Troy, how many cosmic castrations do you give Nameless?
Ooh. I would say I'd give it...
On a scale of 1 to infinity.
That's a good number to throw out there to fuck me all up. I don't know. I would say it's a good, hearty castration. Like, a good one.
Oh, yeah.
A good, hearty, girthy one, you know?
Yeah, you get the whole package in there. A good fistful of nuts and...
It takes at least 3 good chops to get it.
Oh, my. Yeah.
But I would say, like, as much as this one isn't for me, per se, I feel like it does bark up the tree for you.
It does.
And it'd be something that, once going in, know that you're not going to be done reading it for a while, because you'll be looking up all the supplementary material
Very much.
to put it all together.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. If you want that gift at all.
Right. This gift or this curse. It totally is. Like, it's six issues, but after I finished it, I was like, I could read this again.
Or I feel like I should read this again.
Yeah. And that's how I am with most Morrison things. Like, I appreciate... Like, I like doing a little homework on his stuff. And I think if you're on the right mindset, you would too.
Yeah,
If I just drop a book on you and be like, Troy, read this for the show, and tell me what you think, maybe not so much. I feel like we're retracing our pathway when I gave you Neonomicon by Alan Moore.
Yes.
You get similar vibes from that?
Yes, I do, yeah. It's just not my bag,
A mean-spirited cosmic horror. Yes. Grotesquerie.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, you can't win them all. Unless you're me and you're picking the reading for the show.
Yeah, right.
Then it's another win for Milos! Troy, I know what'll cheer you up.
What?
You want to spin the wheel?
I feel like that would cheer me up. Unless it lands on a Troy Thux, and then...
Let's spin this wheel. This is the IMPERIUS REX spinning wheel. Let's see what it lands on and if we're going to do it.
Sewer surface.
Would anthropomorphic turtle people cheer you up?
They may.
Should we do it turtles?
I feel like it's been asked of us to do before.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about it.
Yep.
So we can make this happen.
I'm ready for that.
TMNT?
TMNT, baby.
Let's make it happen.
So on that, we're going to go all the way back to the Mirage. Maybe the first chunk of that. Like chunk, I mean like 3 issues. They're long. And then maybe take a look at the new IDW. Newest. I mean, it's like 10 years old at this point. But I've been collecting these hardcovers. I haven't cracked them open yet. So, yeah. You can give it a little look at those.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do a Turtles run.
That
might be just what you need after this heady space trip.
A nice palate cleanser of some turtles.
Yeah.
And turtle power.
That's right. I wonder how many turtle penises are going to be in it.
Oh, I hope 4. And they all have their own little colored bandanas on.
Amazing. Well, stay tuned, because that's coming up. Not immediately, but eventually we'll get to it. The thing about the spinning wheel, we'll get to it when we get to it.
We make the rules.
It's on the list now. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Get off our backs about it.
So what do you think, viewers out there? Fellow readers?
Oh.
Have you read Nameless? Are you new and haven't heard our thoughts on Morrison yet?
Well, this is quite a crash course.
So drop your comments down below. We'd like to know what you thought. Are you ready to do some extra homework for a book? If it once prompted.
Does this synopsis check out with you? Do you think this is what happened? Who's to say?
Who is to say?
Grant, I guess, but
certainly not us.
No. Do you have another take on it? I'm open to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's a wonderful thing about these.
Yes, and also thanks to our lovely patrons out there. Here's list of everybody's name that's supporting us for a while.
Gotta put a list together, Troy. How about you make the list and we hold it up?
Just a lined piece of paper.
Yep. But seriously, thank you.
Yeah.
You're keeping all 3 lights on. We appreciate it. That's right.
And thanks for joining us once again. But until next time, I have been Short of the Max Extreme.
And I am, and will be again, Ghost Hunter Dave.
And cosmically horrifying, we are Imperius Rex.
Shit rains down, motherfuckers!
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye!